Okay, so it's wonderful that you've gotten so clear and so intimate with what matters most to you. You remember, ah, yes, God is real, Spirit is alive. I am here. I am now. I am sovereign. And you've remembered your core values. For example, in this life, at this time, I will stand for, insert your top three core values here. But what use is the mastery of remembering unless you recognize when you're not in truth? If the first mastery for someone going the sovereign way is remembering, then the second mastery is recognizing. Because if you remember love and truth and who you really are and what you're really supposed to be doing here, then you can recognize what's not. And your whole sovereignty lies in this discernment. For example, this past week in our study group, The Oasis, which, by the way, you can join anytime you like through the link in the bio wherever you're watching this. This week in The Oasis, we were examining our core values and weighing them up in our conscience so we could get really intimate with how to prioritize our creative energy and the direction of our decision making and our movements. And so at the beginning of this season, for me personally, I had remembered I do want to build wealth in a true and sovereign way. I do. You know, only 5 years ago, my husband and I and our little girls, we lost everything in a crazy God bet. And we lived in a tent in the desert and we had nothing but elements to turn into provision. And after a wild 3 years of homelessness, we were delivered from all of that in a massive $100,000 debt forgiveness miracle, mind blowing. And yet, even now, we live on a very humble income and it flows in and it flows out. So, getting true with money is a strange game that I've been playing for a really long time. And I remembered that this value of stability and dependability and rooted provision, this is a core value for me. So earlier this month, I set a goal. I want to end the month with money left over. Money that I can invest into my next month and help life grow like that. And I said, God, you know me. I know you. Let's do this. Make it rain. Open the rivers. Let it flow. And as always, he opened the rivers. We were so blessed last month. Somebody tipped my husband a little bit extra at the restaurant, and a friend gave me a few $100 to help with a thing. And I made a little bit of money on a workshop. More inflow, more inflow. And at the end of the month, I had zero left over. Nothing. Where did it go? Who took it? I looked through the accounts and I loved what I saw. Every transaction was good, was honorable, was generous, was fun, was satisfying. Not one of them was regrettable. Helped others, check. Restocked the home, check. Said yes to the opportunities, invested, bought the children clothes, check. Not one transaction that my enemy could judge me on. And not one of them serving the core value that I said mattered most to me this month. Yes, it was wonderful being able to take my sister and brother out with my whole family on their last night in the USA before I'm not going to see them for at least a year. And it was great leaving a huge check, a huge tip for the waitress. We laughed so much that night. But the joy was free. The belonging and the fun and the togetherness, that didn't cost a penny, did not require any cash. The honest truth is that either I value convenience and flow and delight and indulgence and all those things on my bank statement more than I truly value saving money and building wealth. Ergo, I've set a goal that's not in line with my true core values. Or I do value saving money and simply didn't recognize when my behaviors were in violation of something that's important to me. So if I've remembered my core values, then what is it that's not in alignment with truth? Is it my goals or is it my behaviors? That's what I must recognize next. Okay, so I've confessed. Now it's your turn. Play the game and share what you've recognized. Is it your behaviors or is it your goals that are not in line? Or if you're all straight and narrow, that's awesome. And I want to hear that too. So give me some inspiration. Share, confess, put down what you've recognized. Come on, don't be shy. But how do we recognize? Sometimes we say truth is strengthening and falsehood is weakening. That's the basis for kinesiology. In a very linear way, it does make metaphysical sense, but it is a crude simplification. Yet, it is a good sort of linear way to arrange how we think and feel about discernment. And if I'm to recognize when either my goals or my behaviors are not in line with my core values and with what God is trying to do through me, in fact, then I can use my energy field and my body to help communicate what's true and what's false. The problem is all those millions of times a day when I'm caught in a story about who and what and why and when and all the stuff and the facts out there. And in that state, I'm very vulnerable because any passing thought form or energy trend can seduce my attention and have me off in some other direction than what's the one true sovereign way for me. Stray from the narrow path. Oh, now we're all worried or angry about this and that. Or maybe we're all excited and motivated about changing these things. Even as light leaders, trained to direct current, we are all so vulnerable to those collective motions, which is why Savior is real and why I need Jesus every day. But in my mastery, I can sense, I do have the sovereign awareness to recognize when I'm acting unconsciously. Do you have any idea how many billions of dollars are spent in America on drunk purchases? Unconscious behaviors. But in my mastery, I can observe myself and recognize when I'm, for example, spending money against my conscience, or maybe fighting for a goal that is actually irrelevant to my true sovereign cause. And as soon as I recognize that, I can feel my ego inflating in defense of the action I know I'm going to take. I can feel it in my solar plexus like a sort of an adolescent defiance. I'm definitely taking my brother and sister out for dinner tonight. And then I can hear the buzzing of my brilliant brain rationalizing. I'm not going to see them for a year. It's going to be so wonderful for the children to be with their aunt and uncle. I'm so happy that I can bless the waitress so abundantly tonight. The reason it's so hard to change pattern behavior in favor of a higher goal is because it's so easy to rationalize. And if we're just discerning truth and false like strong and weak, that is too linear and it will not work at your log of consciousness because you already know God is everything. God looked at all he had made and said, yes, this is very good. So I'm looking at this decision, shall we go out and eat tonight? And I'm like, yes, this is very good. And let's imagine on a meta level that the primary function of evil is only to manipulate sovereign choice. Why? Because sovereign choice is always true and it's always benevolent. And that's disastrous to the existence of false realities. The snake in the garden doesn't tell life what to do. By the way, Eve is Hebrew for life. So the snake isn't telling your life what to do. It cannot override free will. It simply questions and suggests until you've created an inverted reality that it can build upon. Really? Did God really say that? That you can't eat the apple? He knows you won't die if you eat the apple. You know, evil frequencies don't necessarily seem to oppose truth because there is actually no real opposition to truth. Truth is just what is. So instead, evil takes truth and then twists it and inverts it, and then energetically builds off that inversion, creating a false reality that is really happening to anyone who believes in it. That's phenomenology. So all evil needs to do is invert a true field and create an inverted thought form that is then energized by your agreement with it. So it seduces your awareness deeper into that inversion by offering all sorts of benefits that appeal to your intelligent ego, no matter your log of consciousness, no matter how enlightened you are as a light leader. So for someone like you and me who considers ourselves conscious and awake, these frequencies might sound like, well, maybe if you eat the fruit, you'll be like a god. There are millions suffering, and if you don't save them now, who will? Or maybe if you manifest another red car, you'll be seen as a great spiritual master of manifesting. Maybe you should deprive yourself of joy so you will be known as a humble and noble servant. Or if you quit your mission now, everyone will see that you are brave and unattached and surrendered. Or you should probably keep spending because if you tighten up, you might be in lack consciousness and then you'll never attract real wealth. You really are the son of God, right? Well, throw yourself off the highest point of your temple and let's see you fly. This is why reasoning is sovereign over emotion and even the body, because it has a higher authority in your decision-making process than what feels good. It is a higher faculty than the chemical construct of endorphins and dopamines and serotonin that feels really good in your body. And that's why mental mastery is so important. That's the fifth mastery we call genius in this book called The Sovereign Way, which you can get on Amazon. Just follow the link in the bio. But when it comes to recognizing, if you're just feeling for what feels good, what makes me feel good, it all feels good here in the Garden of Eden. That works better in lower logs of consciousness, in lower logs of calibration, like, am I worthy or am I not worthy? Oh, worthy feels good. Worthy feels better than not good. I mean, not worthy. So that sort of feels good, doesn't feel good calibration works in lower and more linear logs of consciousness, but you're quantum. So for you, you're able to transform anything and make it good. Does that mean that you are building and stewarding energy in line with your core values and the sovereign way? No. You can feel good sitting in the garden. You can feel good playing video games all day long. At higher logs of consciousness, you need to use reason to bring your core values to the surface at the moment of decision. This is something one of our members here in the Oasis just now shared with us, Esther, saying, how extraordinary to witness the poise in all of those intricate moments of decision-making, to be able to see, I recognize the truth here, and to take action based on that, not based on what feels good. Now, energetically, as soon as I recognize that either my goal or my behavior is not in line with my core values, as soon as I recognize that, I can pivot. I can snap my metaphysical fingers and I can pivot to presence. Ah, yes, I remember. I am here now. I am light. I am good. I am becoming. I am sovereign and I can choose again today. So I want to hear from you. Can you prehend when your behaviors or your goals are not in line with your core values? Can you feel that in your body? Can you feel it in your mind? What's that like for you? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Pop it in and play the game with us. So now let me tell you what happens when your behaviors and goals are in line with your true core values. Remember, your core values are how the world gets to know God through you. They're like the baseline dominance in a very unique song that's being played through you just by the nature of your being. Your core values are the strands of God being woven into reality through your holy presence. So energetically, it's like you've adjusted the dial on a shower head and the spray has gone from a mist to that delicious shoulder massaging spray. You know the one I'm talking about. Cohesive energy, strong impact. The life force or the chi or the Holy Spirit is no longer being refracted by your consciousness into many diverse thought forms, thereby only impotently energizing different vibrational fields and half realities that then fizzle out and die. Oh, my calendar is a graveyard of fizzled out ideas and goals. Instead, the life force energy, when it's not refracted like that, when it's brought into cohesion, instead it energizes only the thought forms that truly matter most to you. Imagine how much animation and mobilization will move into your manifesting. Think of Warren Buffett's 5-25 rule. So this is how you do this one, right? Think of the 25 things that you most want to accomplish in this life and write them down. And now circle the top 5. The 20 below are your biggest distractions from accomplishing those top 5. Avoid them at all costs. Dial all your life force energy, all of your spirit into your top core values, the most meaningful strands of your life, and then watch the magic happen. Imagine that you've remembered and recognized that you've been put here in this life at this time to help create a genuine impact in the course of history. Let's say you feel in your bones that you are called to help awaken and equip humanity for a new way of being. And perhaps you've discovered extraordinary spiritual awareness and exquisite gifts that set you apart from the mainstream. Let's say you remember that you're a miracle worker. In fact, you're on commission in a coordinated plan led by Jesus Christ. And imagine that he's overshadowing your mind, that he's illuminating the sovereign way ahead of you, animating your movements. And maybe there are patterns and systems in your unconscious that you'll never figure out. And maybe there are silver-tongued snakes that make you feel all the good bliss. So he infuses into them too. And he transforms them with you as you recognize them. He transforms them with you as you recognize them. Imagine having the poise to remember him every time you recognize that you've leaned off the sovereign way. And with a flash of grace, you release and recalibrate, and in him you are sovereign again. Now, because you are sovereign over all those myriad currents of thought forms and energy, all those strands of elemental creations in the natural world, because you are sovereign over all of those, by natural entanglement, you're a miracle worker. Because you have the authority to intend and know a benevolent and true thought form and energize that with your creative life force. You can move mountains if your goals and your behaviors are in line with what matters most. Unlimited rivers of creative life force can be released through you because the goals that you build off your core values and the behaviors that you choose in all those tiny little moments are in cohesion. So you're like a fire hose. That's how important these basic masteries of remembering and recognizing are to someone walking the sovereign way. No matter how mature you think you are, no matter how many gurus you've studied with, no matter how many spiritual scriptures you've analyzed, remembering and recognizing are fundamental to you maintaining energetic cohesion any day. So listen, if you are one who recognizes yourself as a miracle worker, I've got a gift for you. I have a free course called How to Be a Miracle Worker. And it's a tapestry of sermons and stories and real life actions to help you live even more as the miracle worker that you remember that you are, to make an impact for others that you're called for. And I'd love to offer you this course for free. It's 12 simple steps. And you're going to really enjoy it. So you'll discover who the anointed ones are. You'll recognize the metaphysics of conscious miracle work, and you'll become even more equipped for the extraordinary adventures that are yet to come. So follow the link in my bio wherever you're watching this. It's the first button that opens up. Listen to this. This is Isaiah 41, 18 to 20. And a special shout out to Christy, who found this verse at the perfect moment. She does this every week and it blows my mind. Listen, Isaiah 41, 18 to 20. I will open up rivers for them on the high plateaus. I will give them fountains of water in the valleys. I will fill the deserts with pools of water. Rivers fed by springs will flow across the parched ground. I will plant in the barren desert, cedar, acacia, myrtle, olive, cypress, fir, and pine. And I am doing this so all who recognize this miracle will understand what it means. That it is the Lord who has done this, the Holy One of Israel who created it. Wow. Now to our small group, the Oasis, to reflect on what we've recognized. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and share with your friends.